Hey there. So I've got this dragon that I have been working on here and there. And what I want to do is just kind of go over how I do scales. Um, I highly recommend reference as you can find it. Obviously, we can't find a picture of a real dragon anywhere. Closest we can come to maybe a real dragon are perhaps dinosaur fossils and uh, birds or lizards, and we can look at their skin and scales. We can look at photos of crocodiles. Um, this guy kind of has a crocodilian kind of a scale pattern going here on his lower jaw. I'm going to do some up here. And so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to get a darker color. I'm going to go to my HB pencil, kind of using a 50% opacity and about half the size of whatever this pencil tip is. And then, oops, I had a hidden layer because I already recorded this, but it didn't all record. So I'm doing it again because it's that much fun. So I'm going to kind of let the shape of this part of the side of his head, I guess, dictate how big the scales are. And you know, I don't have a specific plan. I just know that areas that are flatter and bigger and broader probably have larger scales, and areas that need to flex and move more probably have smaller scales. And so knowing that, I can detail with the scales I have. Did that make any sense? I hope it did. I can detail the scale areas with what feels right and what looks right. So, you know, you decide what looks right because it's your creature, it's your creation. And if you don't like how it looks, just erase it. Easier to do on the computer, right? Can undo. All right. So I've kind of got my outline done. So let's see. It's okay looking. I almost think I liked what I had done before a little bit better, but I can make do with this to show you guys what I'm up to. Okay. All right, there we go. I kind of like how that looks. Now, maybe I'll split these guys up a little, and then I'll do something over here on that one, break that up a touch. I love asymmetry. I love asymmetry. Asymmetry is a great way to make things look natural, meaning that it's not like three scales that look perfectly shaped and formed. They're perfect in their imperfection here. This makes me want to fix the eye. My profile of my eye is a little weird. I'll get back to the scales in just a second. Okay. Yes, I like asymmetry quite a bit. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to get a lighter color and I'm going to do some highlights. So it's almost like I'm sculpting this guy out of stone. That's when I know a drawing is feeling really good for me, when it starts to feel sculptural, when it feels like I could reach out and touch the bits and pieces and odds and ends that I'm working on. That is delightful. I really, really like that a lot. So let's see. and I'm just kind of imagining what the highlights would be. And you know, I've done this stuff before, so I've looked at reference, and I don't have any particular reference right now, but you could even go and get a bunch of pebbles out of the front yard or off the street or something, and you could gather them together and shine a light on them from a certain angle and take a photo, and you would be able to see where the highlights and the shadows are. You can already see how different this is if we look at what was and what is now. And you got to decide what you like, you know. The more detail you put in, obviously the more work it takes, and is it worth putting in that detail? If it's worth putting in because you've got the time and you want it to be that detailed, then do it, if that's what you want. If you don't want to put the detail in there, all of it, and you want to suggest the detail, or if you want to, you have to suggest the detail because you're on a deadline, which deadlines, man, got to meet your deadlines. So if you got to meet a deadline, then you need to learn how to, make something look detailed by putting in some of the details. So I switched over to an airbrush tool because I just want to shade a little bit. Underneath the undercut. So if this is a side view of a scale, and if light is coming from this direction, then I'm going to shade underneath that scale, right? And in a similar manner, I'm going to highlight the top of it. Makes sense, right? So we're going to highlight the top of it and shade underneath it. Oops, that's too big. And I'm not bold generally in my approach. I tend to kind of massage the whole thing along. That's what I like to do. I don't like to just put big old harsh colors in something. So just kind of shading as I go, right? So let's pull back and see what we've got. I like how that looks. It's a style and it's an approach, and obviously it doesn't really blend in here or anywhere, so you'd have to work it. But if you kept like these kind of wrinklier, thin skin areas and had some of these rockier ridges around, it would really tie it together quite nicely. So there you go. That's a look at how I approach scales. And just if you're curious, this is what I did that didn't record. So let's look here. This is what I had done earlier. And oops. So you can kind of pick between which you like. I think I like the first one better, honestly. But there you go. All right, go create some scales. Good luck.